Hi, my name is Keith, and today I'm going to do another Bible study video. And this is going to be how to become meek. So in this video, I'm going to first start off by giving the definition of meekness, according to what the Bible is looking for. And so I'll start off by doing that. So it is strength under control, choosing kindness over action, and being humble. So in the rest of the video, I'm going to read some Bible verses. Like examples of being humble, why you should be humble, and or meek, I should say. And with that said, I'm going to start, and we're going to go to Matthew chapter 5, verse 5. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. So that's what your goal should be, is to inherit the earth. A lot of people are talking about pre-tribulation rapture. They're going off on a tangent in the first verse I read. But that's not a thing. That's not scriptural. And those that are actually wishing for that are wishing to be gone from the earth, not to inherit it. Counted it amongst the wicked. And the whole goal is like, this is the Messiah talking. You want to inherit the earth, not be flying away, per se. Just because someone takes a few verses out of context and makes up a doctrine. Next, I'm going to go to Titus. And I'm going to chapter 3, verse 2. To speak evil of no man, to be no brawlers, but gentle, showing all meekness unto all men. So you're not supposed to be fighting, arguing, causing strife. You're supposed to be kind, treating everyone as you'd want to be treated. Next, I'm going to go to Colossians. I'm going to go to chapter 3, verse 12. Put on, therefore, as the elect of God, holy and beloved, bowels of mercies, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long-suffering. Some of those are kind of like the fruits of the Spirit from Galatians chapter 5. But, being kind, meek, subduing your strength, being humble, yes. All qualities that God admires and wants in His people. Next, I'm going to go to Psalm 37. Oops. And I'm going to verses 10 and 11. For yet a little while, and the wicked shall not be. Yea, thou shalt diligently consider this place, and it shall not be. But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. So once again, when I mentioned the meek will inherit the earth in the beginning, and said the wicked will be gone. Yeah, all people who want to fly away are going to count themselves amongst the wicked and fly away, or be destroyed, actually. Their reference to inheriting, the meek inheriting the earth. Next, I'm going to go to Philippians chapter 2, verse 8. And being found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself, and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross. So basically, the Messiah, when he was being tortured and put on a cross, he didn't complain. He went and, he knew that was supposed to happen, and he, didn't fight back, didn't resist, and speak evil of anybody. Showed true meekness and kindness. Next, I'm going to go to Revelation chapter 3, and I'm going to verse 21. To him that overcometh will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I also overcame, and am sat down with my Father in his throne. So, you're basically going to do what the Messiah did. You're going to imitate him. As it says, the meek inherit the earth. So you're going to want to be humble and be just like him, how he was. Next, I'm going to go to Acts chapter 5, verse 29. Then Peter and the other apostles answered and said, we ought to obey God rather than men. Yep. And showing like obedience to God. And that's also, whenever God's laws are in conflict with man's or vice versa, you follow God's laws. You follow God's commandments, not man's. Then we go back to Matthew. And I'm going to chapter 11, verse 29. Take my yoke upon you, and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest for your souls. So basically what that means is if you're obedient to him, he's going to bless and protect you. At least your spirits, Next, I'm going to read James chapter 3, verse 13. Who is a wise man and endued with knowledge among you? Let him shew out of a good conversation of his works with meekness and wisdom. So it's about being humble and being wise, That's what you're supposed to show people, and that's how you're supposed to treat people, and that's how you're supposed to act. I'm going to go to the book of Psalms. I'm going to start at Psalm 22 and verse 26. The meek shall eat and be satisfied. They shall praise the Lord that seek him. Your heart shall live forever. So, another testimony of the meek. Another way of saying the meek shall inherit the earth, or in this case, they'll be blessed. Now I'm going to go to Psalm 25, verse 9. The meek will he guide in judgment, and the meek will teach his way. So, the meek will be, God's going to help. He's going to bless them, and the meek will also, it says, be the future teachers or the teachers. Next, I'm going to go Psalm 147, verse 6. The Lord lifteth up the meek. He casteth the wicked down to the ground. Well, God likes the meek. He hates the wicked. Opposite of meek would be what God hates. Pride, arrogance, those that cause strife. I'm going to go Psalm 149, verse 4. For the Lord taketh pleasure in his people. He will beautify the meek with salvation. Constant theme that the meek inherit the earth. They're, receiving salvation. They're getting blessed. Old Testament, New Testament, because God doesn't change. Next, I'm going to go to Genesis. Chapter 26. Way to the front. And I'm going to verses 20 through 22. And the herdmen of Gerar did strive with Isaac's herdsmen, saying, the water is ours. And he called the name of the well Esek, because they strove with him. And they digged another well, and strove for that also. And he called the name of it Sitnah. And he removed from thence, and digged another well, and for that they strove not. And he called the name what? Rehoboth. And he said, for now the Lord hath made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land. So that was, Isaac basically saying, hey, we're not going to fight over this. We're going to just, keep looking for a different place, that where we can get water. And they did that up until, they were allowed to, be in peace. An example of someone being meek in the Bible. Next, I'm going to Exodus chapter 14. Let's see, what verse am I looking for? Verses 13 and 14. And Moses said unto the people, fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will shew to you today. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. So once again, it's, Moses was telling them to be meek, God's got this battle for you. You don't have to fight. You don't have to do anything. Just let God win it for you. And you're going to let him win it through faith. Next, I'm going to go to 1 Samuel. Chapter 1, or verse 1. Chapter 1. Let me get it right. Oops. I thought I was still in the book of Samuel. Pages are sticking together from all the humidity around here. So I'm going to chapter 1, verses 13 and 14. 13 through 16. Now Hannah, she spake in her heart, only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli thought she had been drunken. And Eli said unto her, How long wilt thou be drunken? Put away thy wine from thee. And Hannah answered and said, No, my lord, I am a woman of sorrowful spirit. I have drank neither wine nor strong drink, but have poured out my soul before the Lord. Count not thine handmaid for a daughter of Belial, for out of the abundance of my complaint and grief have I spoken hitherto. So instead of like fighting or arguing, she prayed to God. Let God answer her prayers and solve her problems. I'm going to stay in 1 Samuel and I'm going to go to chapter 10. I'm going to verse 27. But the children of Belial said, How shall this man save us? And they despised him, and brought him no presents, but he held his peace. So an example of someone that was an example of Saul, like not getting angry, but showing meekness. And next I'm going to read 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 9, and verse 29, sorry. And this, I'll put it in a little context. So this was when Goliath was coming around, and the Philistines army was, tormenting Israel. And David's, was volunteering to, fight Goliath, basically. And his brother got mad at him. And, basically was telling him not to. And so verse 29 is David's answer. And without the context, it wouldn't make any sense. Anyway, and the verse goes, And David said, What have I now done? Is there not a cause? So basically, David was showing meekness. He could have easily fought his brother and said, Yes, I'm going to fight the Philistine, and could have been angry and upset. But instead, he was, meek. Next, I'm going to 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 16. At my first answer no man stood with me, but all men forsook me. I pray God that it may not be laid to their charge. So, instead of being angry and fighting with people, you call on God to help them. Example of meekness. Now I'm going to go to Jude, verse 9. Oops, too far. Yet Michael, the archangel, when contending with the devil, he disputed about the body of Moses, durst not bring against him a railing accusation, but said, The Lord rebuke thee. So, yeah. Even the angels, can be meek, not use violence, or utter arguments, to state their cause, Next, I'm going to Isaiah chapter 42. Verses 1 through 4. Behold, my servant whom I uphold, mine elect, in whom my soul delighteth. I have put my spirit upon him. He shall bring forth judgment to the Gentiles. He shall not cry, nor lift up, nor cause his voice to be heard in the street. A bruised reed shall he not break, and a smoking flax shall he not quench. He shall bring forth judgment unto truth. He shall not fail, nor be discouraged, till he have set judgment in the earth, and the isles shall wait for his law. So for those who don't know, that's a prophecy about the Messiah. Absolutely the most meek man ever walk on the earth. Then I'm going to go to Isaiah chapter 53, verse 7. He was oppressed, and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before the shearers is dumb, so he opened not his mouth. So that's another prophecy of the Messiah. That, like when he was going to be put to death, he wasn't going to speak or fight against anything. Now I'm going to go back to Matthew. And I'm going to chapter 12, verses 19 and 20. Ye shall not strive, nor cry, neither shall any man hear his voice in the streets. A bruised reed shall he not break, and smoking flax shall he not quench, till he send forth judgment into victory. So you can see how the other verse that I read was a prophecy of the Messiah. Pretty much the exact same thing. Next, I'm going to go back to Isaiah chapter 58. And this is a way to humble yourself. It's a fast. I know I've brought this up before a few times. So it's Isaiah 58 verses 3 through 10. So this fast is how you afflict your soul. And what you're doing with this fast is you're lowering yourself, you're humbling yourself. You're becoming a servant to the poor. That's how you humble yourself. You're putting others above you. Wherefore have we fasted, say they, and thou seest not? Wherefore have we afflicted our soul, and thou takest no knowledge? Behold, in the day of your fast ye find pleasure, and exact all your labors. Behold, ye fast for strife and debate, and to smite with the fist of wickedness. Ye shall not fast as ye do this day, to make your voice to be heard on high. Is it such a fast that I have chosen, a day for man to afflict his soul? Is it to bow down his head as a bulrush, and to spread sackcloth and ashes under him? Wilt thou call this a fast and an acceptable day to the Lord? Is not this fast that I have chosen? To loose the bonds of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, to let the oppressed go free, that ye break every yoke? Is it not to deal thy bread to the hungry, and bring the poor that are cast out to thy house? When thou seest the naked, that thou shalt cover him, and that thou hide not thyself from thine own flesh. Then shall thy light break forth as the morning, and thine health shall spring forth speedily, and thine righteousness shall go before thee, and the glory of the Lord shall be thy reward. Shalt thou call, and the Lord shall answer. Thou shalt cry, and he shall say, Hey, here I am. If thou take away from the midst of thee the yoke, the putting forth of the finger, and speaking vanity, and if thou draw out thy soul to the hungry, and satisfy the afflicted soul, then shall thy light rise in obscurity, and thy darkness be as the noonday. Okay, so that's saying don't sin, help the poor, help those that are needy, and that's how you humble your spirit and afflict your soul. That's a way to help make yourself meek. And it's the way God will start rewarding you. So if you don't do stuff like that, you can start now. And even if you're poor, you can still do that particular fast. In this fast, you don't have to starve yourself. You can eat bread and drink water. And the money you save, you can donate to someone that's in need, from other meals. So, if you give them a couple bucks, if you just actually literally just help them. Yeah. It's about doing good for those in need. And like I said, the way I described where you can buy a loaf of bread and, save whatever money you would have spent on food that day, means like anyone can do it. Unless you're super, super, uber poor and the one that's in need of the benefit. But anyway, people try that particular fast. It's actually really good. And once again, that's Isaiah chapter 58, verses 3 through 10. With that being said, I'm going to close this video out. All praise and glory to the Most High. Amen.